All right, guys, let's see how this demonstration video goes. I haven't done a demonstration video like this before, so we'll have to try it this week, and then we'll can fine tune it for next week. So, as I discussed on your video, we're going to start with making a roux. A roux is a French term. It is R-O-U-X. And it's an important base for a lot of sauces and soups that you'll cook when you are making different recipes. Today I'm going to use the roux to make a chicken pot pie. So we'll get it to the part where it's going to be filling, and then from there I will switch over the video to Advanced Bakery so that they can review pie crusts. Alright, so the first thing you do, I have my recipe here in front of me. I will post the recipe I'm using on Google Classroom. So if you guys want to do the same thing I'm doing, you can. If you want to make a roux for some other reason, that's okay too. Alright, so the first thing, my first direction is to melt 1/3 cup of butter. I'm using just an electric skillet here, just because I thought that way my back would not be turned to you at the stove. You certainly can do this on the stove top though. Alright, while that's melting, the next thing I'm going to do with this recipe is I'm going to saute some onions. You're going to saute the onions until they're translucent. So going back, clear back to Intro to Culinary. Who can remember why we would use onions in a butter? Clearly I cannot hear your answer, so I'm just going to assume that you all are answering correctly. Because they're an oil-based, or they do best with an oil base, right? So we're going to saute them a little bit in the fat source. That's going to add a lot of flavor to our roux. You're not going to be able to taste the onions. It's not going to be, remember when onions cook, they change that cellulose changes and becomes sweeter. So with that change in structure, you're not going to have that tangy taste. It's just going to add a lot of flavor. All right, my butter's just about melted. So as that happens, I'm going to go ahead and grab the onions. The recipe calls for 1/3 cup onions. I've already chopped them. I think you guys are all familiar with how to chop an onion at this point in time. You need to go over that. So we'll start those sauteing. My next step is going to be to add the flour. So while these are sauteing, I'm going to go ahead and measure out my flour so that it's ready to go as soon as my onions are translucent. Remember with the roux is basically a source of fat mixed with flour. That fat source, as it coats the flour, it's going to cause that starch granule to open up. As the starch granule opens up, it releases a lot more thickening power, releases those starches, and you get that great thickened sauce, just like you like, kind of mac and cheese, chicken pot pie, like we're making here, what have you. All right. So there's 1 cup. It's 1 and 3. I have to look again, guys. Oh no, I'm completely wrong. Good thing I looked. It's 1/3 cup flour, which makes sense because it should be 1 to 1, right? And I told you I added 1/3 cup of butter. All right, so we will leave that flour sitting there waiting on us for a little bit. The recipe says to add the salt and pepper at this time as well, so we'll do that here as we get going. I'm not sure how well you guys can see what's in the pan. Right now we just have melted butter and sauteed onions. The onions are still just a little bit white, but they're becoming very fragrant, which tells you they're starting to release all those good oils. And we're just about ready to add our flour. Now remember, I told you when you add the flour to the roux, it's going to become thick, and you want that. You want it to become very paste-like. And then we'll let that flour and fat cook for a little bit, and then we will add in our liquid source. In this case, it's going to be a little bit of milk with chicken broth, and then it will dilute that back out. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and add the flour in. Remember, when you add your flour, Flour can burn. So you need to still be paying attention to what your heat is at, and making sure that you're not getting that that flour burnt. There are cases that you do use a burnt roux. That would be a blonde roux or a brown roux. In this case, though, we wanted that white roux. As you can see, it didn't make a super great paste. I think that will be okay for this. I'm going to add just a little bit more flour because I don't think that's thick enough. I don't think it's going to turn out quite the way we want it to turn out. So we'll get just a little bit more flour in there and get a nice paste going. As you guys can see, you can see the it's becoming thicker as I'm stirring. You see that nice pasty consistency. This would be the point in time you all would call me over to your kitchen and say, I think I messed this up. Indeed, it's not messed up. This is just the way it goes. Okay? All right. I'm going to add just a little bit of salt to that. And then I'm going to get our liquid source, which I told you was a mixture of chicken broth and milk. So it's 1 3/4 cup chicken broth. I'm going to add just a little bit. And then I'm going to mix that and allow that paste to kind of start to dissolve. So you can see it's the paste, at first it will be very chunky. That's very normal. And then it will start to dissolve a little bit. I'm going to add just a little bit more. You can see that. I'm not sure how well you guys can see that. It's not our lab. It's too bad. Our lab is much more set up for this sort of thing, but here we are, right? I'm sure most of you heard the governor's announcement today that we're not going to be back in school. I think that's disappointing for most of us, or exciting. I don't know which. I think I fly back between both emotions. All right. We're going to add a little bit more, or the rest of it, what have you. And then now it's going to be milk, and it's 1/2 cup of milk, 1 3/4 cup of chicken broth to 1/2 cup of milk. Now you can really appreciate where you can see the chunks in the liquid. I'm not sure you guys can really appreciate that. You just keep going. I promise the chunks will go away. You gotta just keep stirring. And it will happen. All right. See how good I am at paying attention, at multitasking here. I'm going to turn my heat down just a little bit because it's boiling. I don't really want it to boil right now. All right. I'm going to put the milk in there. So now we want it to just sit here and kind of marry the taste a little bit while it's heating up. It will also thicken a lot as it's heating up. It's already pretty thick. It's a good roux. From this point, what we'll do is we'll add in the chicken and the vegetables, and that will be the basis of our the chicken pot pie for the filling. As far as the chicken goes, what I like to do, or when I like to do this, is if I have leftover turkey or chicken from making a whole turkey or whole chicken. This time I had some left over and I put it in the freezer because it was going to be a few weeks before we did this, and then my kids cleaned out the freezer and threw it away. So in the spirit of social distancing and not shopping a lot, I went ahead and I had some canned chicken, so we're going to use that. It should look just fine. All right. So as that, we're going to let that kind of heat up a little bit. I don't know if you guys can appreciate it starting to just bubble, which it says to go until it's bubbly and thickened, which I think we're just about at the right consistency for what we want. I'm going to grab the chicken and add in the chicken. That was a disturbing sound. See if we can get it again. And then you can get really any kind of vegetables. I get frozen vegetables, and then I usually just get mixed vegetables. I particularly don't care for green beans as much as the other ones, but kind of when they're all in their recipe together, they're not so bad. So I usually get the mixed vegetables, but you can. A lot of people get just peas and carrots. I don't get just peas and carrots, mainly because I like the corn. I think that the corn tastes good in it. So I also add in, the recipe doesn't call for it, but I always add in a little bit of the Southern Style hash brown potatoes. I like the potato squares in there. So I go ahead and add that in. So as simple as that, you just add in the vegetables. There's the mixed vegetables. We'll give that a stir. And then I will add in the hash brown potatoes here. Like I said, not all of them call for hash brown potatoes. I just really like the taste of the potato in the chicken pot pie. Potatoes are all one potato right now. All right, I feel like Mason and Aiden would have volunteered for that little task there. Where are you guys when I need you? Just gonna remove this big one here. We'll save it for another recipe later. Then we're gonna make some cheeseburger chowder later in the week or next week. I mean, who knows what day it is, right? All right, so there you go. There's the innards for the pie are done. I'm gonna stop the video here and switch over to a new video to put on Advanced Bakery. If you guys want, I will do both videos on your, actually, well, I guess it doesn't matter if you want or not. I'll put both videos on your Google Classroom. That way you can see the pie crust if you want. So here you go. I'm not sure how well you can see that in there. It's a pretty thickened sauce. You can see that. Does that make it better? That just looks disturbing from here. I'm not sure. But it's a thickened sauce. It's something that you'd be able to just spoon into the mixture. And like I said, stay tuned and we'll do that next.